live on Facebook and we're recording. Before Lynn and Angie get started, I wanted to go through just the shared services emails that you all have been receiving with the updates, just to help you kind of navigate that information. First and foremost, I'm Amy Loudermilk with ArtsBuild. I'm the program manager for ArtsBuild, and I'm here with you at least a couple of weeks out of the month to share some shared services programming with you and what can help you with your arts advocacy and with what you're doing for the community. So when you receive this email from me, there's a very important survey at the beginning that we hope everyone has had the opportunity to fill out. It's a survey for the Americans for the Arts in terms of COVID-19's impact on the arts community, the arts and culture community. And so we would really like for anyone and everyone who's received this email in the past to make sure you've filled out this survey. Notice you have links for both surveys for the artist and survey for the organization. Underneath that is the reopening procedures that we received from a meeting dated May 17th. This was a webinar series for the Tennessee Nonprofit Arts and Culture Organizations and Artists, and it was hosted by the Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville and sponsored by the Tennessee Arts Commission. So this is an important session for folks who are reopening their studios, their businesses, for to know, the proper procedures for reopening. Then underneath that, we've got our shared services schedule. Obviously today, we're working with our ladies from HR Biz Solutions about managing bank feeds. And then this Saturday is the last training session that we know of. That doesn't mean there are not going to be more for mental health first aid training that we are working with CHI Memorial on. So if you would reach out to Ms. Carol Meredith, her contact information is there in the email. You can also click the email to register button and it'll take you straight to your email to communicate with her about registering for that. And then the last shared services workshop that we have happens the last Wednesday of the month. We'll be talking with Colleen Miller per usual about social media analytics. Per usual in terms of social media, but Colleen is going to give us a 101 on social media analytics. So I don't want to take up any more of Miss Lynn and Miss Angie's time because I know they've always got a lot of information to share with us. So with that, I'm going to give my screen back to you all and let you take it from there. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
All right, let me get my screen shared. Thank you so much, Amy. And whoops, here, let's get my screen that I want you to see here. So my name is Lynn Talbot, and I own HR Business Solution. And we are working with ArtsBuild with all the nonprofits that are either attached to the artist here or other nonprofits that just need a little bit of help, maybe in their bookkeeping and their human resources. So and I have Angie joining us here today. Angie, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell them what all you do.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Angie Bandy here with HR Business Solutions, and I support some small businesses and nonprofits with their bookkeeping as well as general HR needs, which includes job descriptions or employee handbooks, maybe researching benefits programs, and just any other general questions that employers or potential employers have.
Great, thanks so much. So today we're going to be talking about bank feeds, and I know this sounds like super boring, but let me get this screen off of here. There we go. So and Angie, just confirm you can see the screen that says sample company checking, right? Okay, and make sure everybody can see what I'm seeing here. So I'm using the sample company at QuickBooks Online, and it's called Craig's Landscaping. And you can always get to that sample company if you just wanted to Google sample QuickBooks Online. You can generally find this link, and it's just a sample company open to anybody. You can go in, maybe try some things on the sample company if you're interested in QuickBooks, or if you're interested in seeing how classes work or how the bank rules work. You can kind of try it out in this one. And then when you log out and go back in, it all goes back to where it was before. So it's kind of a nice little place to be. But today we're going to be talking about how to manage the bank rules and the bank feeds, because how QuickBooks works, if you use QuickBooks, you know, hook your checking account, your savings account, and maybe a credit card. And some of you may have, loans or different things. And a lot of those will sync right into QuickBooks. And the nice thing about that is it keeps you from having to hand enter your data. Once you sync your bank and your credit card with QuickBooks, everything that happens in that bank or credit card is pushed into the back of your QuickBooks file every night about 3 or 4 in the morning. So it's really fantastic tool, and it keeps you from having to hand enter everything. So when they come in, they land in this place called the banking feeds, or just the banking window. And they come in here, and you can see if I click on the different ones, it will bring up the items that have come in the night before. So generally what QuickBooks is doing is saying, hey, here's all the stuff that happened at your bank. Tell me what you want to do with it. What chart of accounts does this go in? Where does it fit in your organization? And then this is their MasterCard here. And so their MasterCard probably looks a lot like yours. You've got some things from Amazon, a couple of vendors you've gone around to. This is a squeaky clean car wash. So Craig's Landscaping probably owns some trucks and they have to get them cleaned every now and then. Somebody went out to eat. So these are the things that come in. And the nice thing about QuickBooks, when you sync your credit card and when you're using a credit card or a debit card, the detail of that card comes through the bank feeds. So let's just click on this one and look at it. And do remember, this is a sample file, so it's not always up to date as what yours might look like realistically, but it's the best we can do, today. So when we open up that Amazon one, we see down here the bank detail. Now, every bank is different. Every credit card at every bank is different. So when it comes through, this particular credit card just says Amazon software. Maybe they purchased some, maybe they purchased some type of software. Some will say Amazon, Business Center, or Amazon, that you can, buy books on tape or something like that. Or some just say straight Amazon. And so you're going to want to create a rule. And your rule might be different than another rule from another company or the one I'm getting ready to show you. But this is you would do this for your organization. So here you have this Amazon, and you say, well, everything we buy at Amazon is just stuff for our office. It might be some paper, it might be, a doormat, but it's just something for our office. And maybe not all the time, but let's just say 95% of the time. So we'd like to create a rule that says, hey, when you see this word Amazon come through the bank detail, we would like to make a rule for that. And we're going to put it in like office supplies. And this particular account says office expense. Yours might say something like office supply and office expense. You might have a general and overhead for your nonprofit category for office expenses, and you would just put it there. I do like for everybody to put a vendor in here. You need to put a vendor in so that you can track what's going on. Vendor names are very important. So here we're going to add Amazon. And in this particular file, we haven't used Amazon yet. So QuickBooks is saying, would you like to add Amazon? I'm going to click on it, and it's going to do the quick add, which means it's going to, whoops, it says, please make a valid entry. Let's see if it grabbed it or not. Add Amazon. And it's going to act funny and not add Amazon for me. So normally it would, let's do it again. AMAZON. Of course, on live, it's not going to do it for me. I don't know why. So normally it would just say, would you like for me to add Amazon? And it would add it right here. And I would move on, and Amazon would then be in my vendor list to choose, forever. For this particular one, since I'm probably going to shop at Amazon more, I'm going to click this button that says create a rule. And when you go to the rule page, here's what it looks like. It says, what do you want to call this rule? And I'm going to call it Amazon, because that's what I'm going to be looking for if I go back to create the rule. And this is for money, money going out and I believe, money going out, and it was on the MasterCard, and it's going to include any of these following conditions. So you kind of read this, and QuickBooks is going to create the rule for you and put something in this little box here. It's going to generally read that bank detail and take part of it or all of it into that description. So sometimes with some banks, it will have a long description. It might say Amazon and then be followed by a series of numbers or letters, and then maybe even a date. And so what you want to do when you create your rule is you don't need all those numbers and dates. And QuickBooks tries to be helpful and tries to do that for you and say, look, we don't need it to say Amazon software or Amazon software with a bunch of numbers. So QuickBooks decided that it just needed to say Amazon, but I need to look at that and say, is that true? Anything that contains Amazon, I'm going to put in office expenses. And so if we read through the rule, it says, any money going out from this particular MasterCard that includes all of these conditions, the description, and we saw that description, contains the word Amazon, track it as an expense, put it in office expense, and we're going to try one more time to do the to add Amazon. Let's see if it does, and it won't. Normally you would add that there. So thanks, QuickBooks. And this little toggle button here says, it gives you an option, and we're not going to turn that on right now. We're going to turn it off. It defaults to it being automatically on, so you do have to pay attention that that's not already on. It says automatically confirm this rule that applies to this, and then auto add it. In other words, QuickBooks, when that bank feed comes in or that credit card comes in and you see the word Amazon in the description, don't ask me, don't put it in the bank feeds, send it straight to that register and put it where I told you to. And then you don't have to worry about it. For companies that have a lot of these transactions, like if I do a company that has maybe a lot of contractors in landscaping, and they're just buying gas all day long at Kangaroo and Exxon and all of those, I can create a rule that says whenever you see any of these gas stations, just put it in auto fuel and don't ask me again, because I don't want to have to go through the bank rules. So this little automatic button is extremely helpful if you have a lot of the same types of transactions. I'm going to click save here, and we're going to go and look at the rule. Now, I just realized with this Amazon, normally you're buying things at Amazon, but I see that this came in as a received. So this is probably a return, right? Because maybe you bought something that got returned. I don't see where we purchased something in this feed. So maybe it happened before this last date here. So this says it's received. And of course, QuickBooks didn't pick up that rule, because let's go look at the rule. We're going to read it again, and we're going to click the edit button. And it says money out, put it in office supplies. And when you go back to the bank feeds, this is actually money in, right? So I would have to make a category, another rule that says when you see money come back in, but that's very unusual. You're not going to be returning stuff all the time. So that I would just leave that there and categorize it as it comes in so that you'll see, hey, I did get that refund from Amazon. It's a good thing to leave there. So this squeaky clean car wash, when I open up this, you notice that it said 2 records found. So what QuickBooks does is it says, hey, I see the bank detail squeaky clean car wash. I see that. And I see 2 of them within this 30-day time period. Generally, it's going to be within 30 days. And so QuickBooks is just going to give you the option to say, which one of these was it the time you went to 6/2 or 5/26? And simply looking at the date tells me probably which one this is. So QuickBooks is going to try to use its logic, and it's going to populate the one closest to that date. And it's generally going to be right, correct? But this fine match came on because somebody had entered a credit card expense on this day for the squeaky clean car wash. So QuickBooks is finding that match because someone had already entered that into it. Maybe they had a receipt, or maybe they just hand entered it. So that's why this fine match came up. And if we like this, we like fine match, the credit card detail, we simply click the match button and it goes away. Now, if we go down to this squeaky clean car wash, a minute ago, it said 2 records found, but I matched 1 record. So now it's saying, hey, I know which record it is because there's only 1. And again, somebody may have entered a receipt or an expense and it's finding the match. And you see these dates are very close. They happen to be the same here. Generally, there's a day apart or something if that happens, but it will find the match and we simply click match and off it goes. So one of the things about the bank feeds is if you open up your bank feeds and you have 200 and you're thinking, I just need to sort these, there's just too much going on, you can click in any of these areas here and you can sort. Like one of the things I like to do is sort by category match. See this little triangle here? When you see that triangle, you'll know that this is the column that QuickBooks is sorting by. It's generally going to default to the date right here. I can click the date, backwards, and I click it again and it'll go forwards, you see? So you can use any of these. If you are looking for something specific in the description, you could click this one and the description is going to be in alphabetical order. So we really like that. I tell people for some reason, QuickBooks is, sometimes it's okay with the payee, but sometimes it's not correct with the payee. So I tell people, please don't look at this payee until you are ready to open it up. QuickBooks is guessing sometimes who the payee is, and it will take the bank detail and it uses AI to figure out all across the country whoever went to Bob's Burger Joint and what they called it, who the payee is. And when you open it up, of course, it just says Bob's Burger Joint. So QuickBooks is like, well, that's probably the payee, Bob's Burger Joint. But sometimes it's not, it doesn't work that way. Like if you go to Walmart, sometimes Walmart will say Walmart, and then sometimes QuickBooks will say WM, and then it'll say the payee is WM, and you're like, no, it's Walmart. So that's why you have to pay attention to your payee. QuickBooks will start doing things here, especially if you're new and you're adding things. QuickBooks likes to try to predict what you're doing. And it will say, oh, I know what you're doing because I saw you do this before, and it tries to create a little rule for you. And most of the time it's right, but sometimes it's not. And people will say, why did it go and do all the payees for my checks to, Lynn Talbot? I just wrote Lynn 1 check, but now all the checks say Lynn Talbot. Well, that's because QuickBooks says, oh, the last time I saw the word check, and it's just a word to them. C-H-E-C-K, it's just a word. You wrote the payee to Lynn Talbot. So I'm going to just try to help you and write Lynn Talbot in this payee line all the way down. And we know that that's not true. And I know a lot of you are laughing because you've seen this and you're like, why is QuickBooks saying my payee is somebody who it's not? And where do they get this information? Well, it's the last payee you had with that bank detail. And if the bank detail just says check, then of course, every check you write, it's just going to default to the last one. You change the name, it's going to default to that name. So we can actually create a rule to tell it, stop doing that. Like, I don't need your help. You're just making me crazy. So you can actually go up to this rule button and let's try to create a rule. Now, I don't think there are any checks in this banking tab right now, but I'll show you how to create a rule to get QuickBooks to stop helping you in a certain area that you're having trouble with. So we'll call this checks. Yes, do not name payee, something like that. That will help me remember what this rule is. And we're going to say any money that's going out. And we're going to say just the checking account, because I generally don't write checks out of my savings and my MasterCard isn't a check. So I'm going to say money out. The description contains the word check. And maybe for yours, it has the name of your bank on it, or it says, debit or something like that for check. So we're going to say the description contains check. Now you have to be careful because there's 2 things here. There's a description and there's a bank text. Your bank text is what actually comes through the bank feed. And like I said, all banks are different and they bring in whatever bank text that they've decided they want to use so that you can tell what this who you paid. And so the bank text generally says check. The description is what QuickBooks thinks the bank text should be. So when the bank text says check, the description, it generally just copies it over and it says, yeah, it's a check. So you can check on either one of these. If for some reason QuickBooks is bringing in a description that isn't right, it's saying WM and the description is coming in WM, but you know it's Walmart, you might want to go bank text. So apply this transactions when money's coming out of the checking, when the bank text contains the word check. You're going to do it as an expense, and we're not going to do a payee, and we're not going to do a category, and we're not going to automatically add it because we need to see the check come in and we need to tell it what to do. So we're going to tell it to not do anything. Don't try to do a payee and try to help me out. Just leave it alone. Sometimes people will put it in uncategorized, and that's acceptable too, because anything that ends up in uncategorized, generally you're going to be looking for at the end of the month or the end of the week, or it puts it in uncategorized so that it won't put it anywhere else, and you can go back and find it and move it to whoever that check was to. So sometimes I'll do uncategorized to keep it in the same place, just to be able to find it. And then we'll just click save. And if I have something come through the checking account that says check, hopefully QuickBooks will now label it uncategorized and I can find it. It'll quit putting that payee on there. So this is where you get to your rules, and then we'll go back to the banking tab. And we were looking here in the MasterCard tab, and the nice thing about the ones that have already been found is because someone here has entered those records. In general, you're probably not entering those records. You're probably swiping the card, and then the next day it comes through before you can even get into QuickBooks and enter it. But you also have the option to take a picture of a receipt. So maybe at Bob's Burger Joint, somebody snapped a picture of the receipt, entered it into QuickBooks as an expense, and QuickBooks came and found that and said, I have a receipt for that. And if that did happen, when you clicked on it, you would see a little attachment and you would be able to open up and see the receipt. And sometimes that's important to know, well, who went to Bob's Burgers and what did they get? You would be able to tell, what's going on there. So if I put these in order of the category or matched, all the green ones are going to come to the top. So when you see record found, and it brings you the word match, because it's telling you, hey, look, we've already done the work for you. We found it. We're pretty sure match, match, match. So you can just click match, match, match on that. But if you have a lot of records, like sometimes if you're doing payroll or something, you might have all of your paychecks come through. All the records are, matched. There's a little bit of an easier way to do it. You can go over here and just click all the ones that you want to add. And this little bar comes up and it says accept, update, or exclude. And I like these. I think they're great. I'm going to click the accept button, and in one click, I'm able to add all of those. So if you have, 50 or 60 that are like that, you can click them all and then add them at the same time rather than match and then wait for it to categorize. So now I've got my credit card down to just 2 transactions, and here they are. Here are the 2 transactions, and I can add those if I want to. We'll come back to these a little bit later. So in my savings account, it says right now my bank balance, see where it says updated moments ago. So I know true that my savings account, according to QuickBooks, is $200. And it went to the bank, it got the amount, and it came back and it put it in that little thing there. So if I saw this $200 and then I thought, well, I have 200 in QuickBooks, 800 in QuickBooks, I must have a $600, payment that went out, because I have on record 800, and in the file right now in the bank right now is 200. So either I've written a check or I've made a transfer and it just hasn't gotten to the bank yet. I made it in QuickBooks It just hasn't gotten to the bank yet. And that's probably the story that it's telling you. So you'd want to make sure that you go back to the register and make sure that $600, you actually did that. You didn't just put it in the register and then forget to go to the bank and transfer that money. But this is telling me it has one to accept. I go here, it found this deposit. This is money received. So it's very easy to click match. And then when I do that, it says in my QuickBooks account, I have $800 because it already matched it, the same thing. But I know there's a little difference here, and that difference should be found if I open the register. There should be $600 there that just hasn't cleared the bank yet. So going over here to the checking, we see this number here that would give probably anybody, a little pause here. There's a negative bank balance. I'm not sure why QuickBooks would give us a sample file that has a negative bank balance, because that's a little scary. But that means that something's happened and you either overdrew the account, you forgot to make a deposit, or a deposit that you thought had been made has not been made yet. So when you see this negative, you're going to want to know what's going on and go back to your register and try to find out what happened. And of course, make a deposit back to your bank. But these are all the things that happen. And see here, they have a lot of records. So there's a lot of deposits here that are all made, and they're ready to go. And what I tell my clients to do is just look at it really quick and just make sure you're like, yeah, I remember going to Hicks Hardware yesterday. Yeah, that's right. Yes, I know that deposit, this deposit, I know what this is. This is my, PG&E. That's our electric bill. And you just kind of glance at it really quick. And if you like these, again, I would go back and put these in order for the match, and they already are, because I put it in order when I was over here in the credit card, and this is sticky, and it stayed here when I toggled over to my banking account. So it's still done here. So I can go through and click all of these, really quickly, and see, once I click on it, this little banner comes up, and I can get all of this cleared out pretty quickly, just going down and getting these cleared out, because I've peeked at them and I like them. I'm like, I'm happy. Thank you, QuickBooks, for matching all that. Go away. Now I'm down to 11. And there's one more bill payment that we found here. Click match and have it go away. But some of these I would like to make a rule for. I see I've gone to A rental twice, and I've spent some money here. I spent $1,200, and then I spent $800. So, and with this particular landscaping company, maybe they rent equipment weekly from A rental, and it would be nice to have a rule made so that when it comes in, it will automatically make the rule and turn it green, and everybody's happy. We're going to tell QuickBooks how to do it though. So this says categorize, and we're going to put it in some type of rental, rental equipment. Let's just see what they've got in here. There's equipment rental, a sub account of job expense, and that's the one that I want to do. Now, if you have a class, so for nonprofits, a lot of times QuickBooks has this thing called class tracking, and for nonprofits, we generally call that program tracking. So if you have different programs that you need to cost your expenses to, say you have an outreach category, which a lot of nonprofits do, and you needed to put this, let's just say, for example, I know this is a rental equipment, but let's just say it's for outreach or for one of my programs, I could go over here and drop this menu down and choose the class that I have. And here I've just entered one class just to give you the example program, but you may have several classes here. You could drop it down. And what this tells QuickBooks is, hey, whenever you see this A rental, put it in job expense and go ahead and put it to this program. If that's going to be the case, most of the time, you couldn't do that with everything you bought from Amazon, because of course it might go to different programs. But let's just say, for example, we want to class this. We're going to go down here and create a rule. For some reason today, it's not letting me enter a vendor into the sample file. So I apologize for that, because normally we would put a vendor in there. But let's create a rule, and let's look at this bank detail. A1 rental, backhoe rental. So remember that A1 rental, and I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. So that when I get over, this is the bank detail. so that when I get over to the window, if QuickBooks has decided to do a different description, I can know what the bank detail says, because you have to copy it because sometimes it doesn't let you see it. See how I can't see it anymore? So the description is a little bit different. It says a rental, and I've decided that, there could be something else named a rental. I'm just going to say, I want the bank text, and I'm going to paste my bank text in here. I'm just going to right click and paste and see how it actually says A1 rental. QuickBooks description brought over just a rental for whatever reason. I don't know. It just decided to throw the one out. But I want the one in there because I go to A1 rental. I don't go to A rental, right? So we're going to call this A1 rental. And it's an expense. We're going to categorize it to wherever you want to categorize it. Normally you would put the name in here, A1, and see where the class, I've chosen the class. When I choose the class in the bank feeds, it will bring up this little class tag here. So then I can say, put it in my program. And we're going to go down, and I'm going to make sure this is toggled off because right now I'm trying to learn how the bank feeds work, and I want to make sure I'm putting those rules in correctly. So you're going to want to test all your rules to make sure you've got it correctly. Because I'll tell you, it's really funny. QuickBooks will do exactly what you tell it to do over here. So sometimes you have to go back and say, oh, I see. I told it, I see the bank text now. It's different than what I thought. And so you have to go test it. So let's see if we like this. We're going to call it A1, money out of the checking account. And you know what? I'm going to go over here and say all, because I might use that credit card next time. So I'm going to say all bank accounts. And I encourage people to do that if it's things that, like Amazon and things that you could be using bank or credit card accounts. Just click all accounts, because really, anytime you go to A1 rental, it's going to go to this particular place, and you don't really care which account you used it from. So we're going to change this to all bank accounts. When it includes, the bank text includes or contains A1 rental. Now we switched it to bank text because QuickBooks changed the description. I know it's odd, but it does, it changes the description, and we've caught that there. So we're going to do that. In the payee, we would normally put that in there. So let's click save, and let's see what happens. Okay, good. Something happened. This is really good. So here's A1 rental. See this little word here? It says rule, job expense, and equipment. I'm like, yes, that's right. I want a rental to go here. And you can just click the add button. That's the rule we just created. But look, it went down and it found this one. And I'm so excited, because like, yay, it's going to do the rule for me. So I don't have to open it, put the payee in, enter the job, do the class. I can just say, you're right. You used my rule. I like the rule. And I'm going to click the add button. So we can add these really quickly when we have the word rule written there. But you want to look at it to make sure your rule is correct. So that's kind of how the bank rules work. Now, something interesting down here. Now we have an A rental, and there's not a rule there. So you're like, what's going on? Well, I noticed this is money that we got back. So this is money we spent. We spent the $1,200 to the $800, and then we got this back. Maybe we had to go make a deposit of $200, and that's the deposit that we got back. And you're thinking, well, why didn't the rule work? And if we go back to the rule, and hopefully you'll be able to see why, we're going to go to A1 rental, just going to click edit. And we said any money that comes out, and this money came in. So that's why it didn't. And it doesn't let me say in and out. It would be nice if it let me check both of them, but it won't. It'll just let me check one. So we do have to go back and look at that one when we go back to the bank feeds. But what you need to know is wherever that A rental came from, now it picked it up. It thinks it needs to go here because it picked up this word, the description, it picked it up and it thinks it needs to go here. When something just turns green, it just means QuickBooks is trying to be helpful, and it says, the last time I saw the word A rental, you put it in job expenses, but this is a little different because it's money in and not out. So I'm not going to apply the rule, but I'm going to use, my grand knowledge here and assume that it's going to go there. And that is correct. So any of the returns that you have, it just goes right back to where it came from. So this goes to job expenses and this goes to job expenses, the rental. So that's kind of how the bank feeds work. And sometimes you just have to go back and forth to the bank rules to get them correct. You have to look and see what's happening and then go back and do that. So this is the same thing, Books by Bessie. It looks like we bought something and then we returned something. QuickBooks is trying to think that this may be legal and professional fees. It doesn't really know, but maybe this is a bookkeeper, Books by Bessie, and they are using some AI to try to figure that out. So that's something, when you see that green, it just means they're trying to be helpful, but it may not be right. QuickBooks should just put stuff in uncategorized when it's never seen it before. Like if it's never seen Chen's gas, it just says, I don't know, just going to keep it black. Here it is. What do you want to do with it? And then once I do something with it, QuickBooks picks up a little internal rule, its own rules, but it's also going to look for your rules. So there's two rules, yours and kind of the QuickBooks rules. And you need to make sure that when you're doing your rules, you're in control, of doing that. So I want to show you I don't know if there's any questions or anything right now, but I want to show you some other rules here. And this is just the rules in my QuickBooks. So this is like ADS security, and that's our security system. And I have it applying to all accounts. And another reason to apply it to all accounts is that maybe my credit card, number gets, gets stolen and I have to add a new credit card. I don't want to have to go back here and change all these rules to that one credit card. I just want to go all accounts because I really don't care how I pay for it. I just want it to, if it says ADS security, I want it to go to my security system. This little thing says auto add. And so that's what that little, the toggle button at the bottom said, when you're confident of your rules, like you've been working on them and you're like, I've got this down, Lynn, this is great. ADS security is always going to be security. I'm never going to pay them to do something other than just be security. So I feel confident in that. And I just have it auto add. So when ADS security comes in, I don't even see it in the bank feeds. It goes straight to my check register or the credit card register, wherever it's going to. And that saves me an extra step. And the same thing with this one. So Amazon, anything I buy at Amazon is always office supplies, at least in our organization. Bill.com goes to different places because we bill our clients back for that. So I don't have it auto add. And then Bread and Butter is a little place down the street that we sometimes buy goodies and stuff for the office, but I don't have it auto add because sometimes I'll buy a meal for a client. So I leave that to not auto add so that when it comes in, I can say, oh, that was for a dinner for, a client or something like that. So that's how this works. You can go down and look at them, and this says it's active. And if you have this tag to just like, this is a Capital One payment, so my bank account pays my Capital One, right? So that's why this one says just apply to Capital One. So whenever you see that Capital One payment, go out of or come into Capital One to pay it, go out of the checking account, I want it to the checking to set it to Capital One, and I want it to auto add. And that's really nice because it does match it up, because there's one coming out of my checking, right? And there's one coming into the Capital One. I don't want two of them. I want it to, say it's coming out of checking and then auto add it, and it will match those up. So those are important ones to do too. And just regular ones, EPB, Family Dollar, these are just places that we go. This is my G Suite for HR Biz. I should probably have that auto added, but Indeed. So these are the different ones that I have. And of course, we can look at any of these, and like, let's just look at Google. We can go over here and edit this one and see what it says. So I call it Google because I want to be able to find it in my rules. If you let QuickBooks automatically add a rule for you, that's fine. It will have the word suggested in front of it saying, hey, QuickBooks, after you do something twice, you say Google goes to dues and subscriptions. Google goes to dues and subscriptions. And the third time it says, hey, do you want to create a rule for this? Because you did this twice and it seems like that's logical. And you can say, yes, thank you. And when you say yes, it creates something that's got in parentheses subscription and then the word Google. But what happens is it gets out of alphabetical order, and me being OCD, I like to be able to have, be able to sort by alphabetical and see the words. So you can just come in and delete the word suggested if it's created it for you. So my Google one just says any money coming out, any bank account. The description contains G Suite, and I just pulled that straight from the bank, from the description, what it said. Here's the payee, monthly use of, and I just put a memo in there so that we would know. I'm going to switch that to auto and click save. And now I don't have to look at it anymore. So some things are auto add and some things are not, but here's the rule name. And that way they're in alphabetical order when you want them in alphabetical order. So that's the bank rules. And if you have created a bank rule, or somebody else created a bank rule, and all of a sudden it's just giving you a hard time, like you're like, I don't know what's going on, but this bank rule just isn't working. You can come over here and edit this drop down window and just say disable for now till you can figure it out, or you can just delete it if it's no longer applicable. So very easy to just, delete them. If you go back to your QuickBooks now and you think, well, I know QuickBooks created some rules and I probably created some rules, and you open up this window and there's just tons of rules there, it's a good time to go through and open them up and just read them very carefully. Maybe change it to all accounts if you want to do that, and then look through the rules to make sure that you like those rules and that they're still applicable. And keeping anything that you need to look at and approve or something, don't have it automatically go to your checking account, because you need to look at it. Somebody needs to put eyes on it and attach it to a program or attach it to a client or whatever it is you're doing. So so that's the rules. And basically how the bank feeds work is and things come in here and you have to sort them through. So if you were to run a profit and loss right now in QuickBooks, these items that are sitting in your bank feeds are not included. They're sitting outside saying, hey, where do you want to put them? And the second you add them, they go into the bank register or credit card register, and then they go to the proper category that you have told them to go to and categorize. So that is the bank rules in a nutshell. I don't know if we have any questions. Corey, I don't know if you've been able to follow this. I know you don't have QuickBooks, but are there any questions at all? Or Angie, can you something I missed? Oh,
I don't see anything in the chat, but that was a very intensive deep dive into that. I actually learned quite a bit. And I don't even use QuickBooks.
yeah.
Well, anyone, Corey, I know it sounded like you were driving, so I don't know if you had questions, but if you do, if you think of something later, feel free to email me.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm at home now. I was just driving for about 5 minutes, but yeah, I'm at home.
Okay.
And I've been keeping up with you as far as looking at this QuickBooks and getting the gist of, kind of what I could do if I wanted to do it. But knowing the process for me makes it a whole lot easier, that even if the person that I hire, if that's what she's doing, then at least I know what the process is and how to do some things, so that I'm just not, a ship in the ocean, just sitting there, not having a clue where my money is going or where has it been or where. So this has been, this has been helpful, just so I know how this operates. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being able to join us throughout the entirety. And for those who are watching us on Facebook Live, or who have gone back to view the YouTube recording of this, you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to put you in touch with Lynn and her team if you require their services further. I know as a starting organization, they are limitless in what they can do to help you. So they've got lots of great information and knowledge to share in terms of learning this and getting your practice organized.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about next week. I'm sorry, I'm getting a child abduction. I don't know how to cut it off. Child abduction alert. Let me just.
Amber Alert, Roger.
Okay, I get nervous about those Amber Alerts. I hope they can find that child. But we did want to talk about, the next 2 or 3 months, some topics we're going to cover, and Angie's going to cover some HR topics. But if you had any ideas, or Angie, do you have some ideas you want to throw out that might be relevant or current?
Well, I think one thing that is happening is as we are able to open up our businesses, maybe we've laid individuals off, or we are seeing a boom as residents are getting out and about town. I guess my question to you all is, are you staffing back up? Were you able to hold on to your staff, or did you have to let folks go? Are you having trouble finding staff members, or are you booming to the point where you had 3 or 5 folks that it was pretty manageable, but now you find that you may have to double or add more staff members? And so we're just interested in seeing where you are as an organization now, and what we can talk about in these next few months.
Oh, that's
Great.
interesting. This is Corey. I do have a question. I know that you had someone on the panel that talked about employee benefit type things, and I wanted to find out, could I have that person's email, because I have a couple of questions about how to present an employee benefit to a company like hers. Like, what does that process look like?
I think I had mentioned that, but Corey, so I understand you saying that you may see one of your ideas as being a benefit. A larger company would offer that as a benefit?
Yeah, I'm in addition to everything else, I am an associate of Legal Shield. And here in Tennessee, even though we are still only at 2% market rate for the United States, it seems that very little people in Tennessee know about it. And so I said I was going to, kind of step up in that role to let people know that, Legal Shield is available. I love them to death. I've been with them for 20 years as a member, and they will always get my money. So they have saved me thousands, and they have made me thousands. So, I know that it is something that people need, in just this, legal society that we're in. So wanted to find out what is the best avenue to approach HR people like yourself.
That is certainly something that we can talk about and provide some guidance. And that sounds like that would be something that many companies may find an interesting option for their staff members.
Yeah, and the great thing is that the company can opt to, pay for it themselves, and it still, helps with their bottom line. But it's also an option that the employee can opt into. So either way, it's all about really just letting people know that it's available one way or another, and letting them, make that decision on, accepting it or not. So I'm just the one who can say, here it is, take it or leave it, but here's an option. So.
Well, yes, certainly give us, just contact the office, and we'd be happy to talk with you about that. I mean, I think that's a great way to approach what you have to offer.
Well, thank you. And is your email going to be in the chat or in an email? Yes. Okay.
I'll get that to you individually.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Amy, for having us. And, I encourage people, if they do have questions about QuickBooks or bank feeds, just, give us a shout, or give Amy a shout. She'll give you our information, because we're here to help.
Yeah,
Thank you so
and-
much.
Yeah, thank you all. And looks like we'll be able to give you about 7 minutes back of your day. So thanks for joining us. Everybody take care. And don't forget, we'll be meeting with Colleen Miller this time next week to talk about social media analytics. So, all right, everybody have a great day, and we'll hopefully
Bye.
see you soon. Bye.
Bye.